Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. So, I wanted to do another thank you video today. I did one in September, did another one in October, and so I wanted to do one for November. It's not for a specific milestone this time. So, for example, in September, I had just hit 100 subscribers. Now there are just south of 440 of you, and the experience that you all are giving me by sharing this with me is just amazing. So I came out here on YouTube to help people, and I think it's ending up being very mutual. You guys are restoring a faith in me about people that I didn't even realize had faded a bit. So thank you very much. This has been an amazing ride. You guys amaze me every day when I talk to you, when I read for you, and I love you guys just so much. So I just wanted to make sure I said that. You know, it's a thank you reading, and I wanted to let you guys know how much I appreciate you. So this reading, as usual, it'll be a general reading for all signs. Readings are timeless, so you'll be more drawn to readings when it's the right time for you to get the messages. You know, and it won't resonate with everybody. Not every reading is going to resonate with everyone, but if it does with you, please like and share and subscribe so that you can stick with me. And so, what we're going to do today, this is going to be a general soulmate check in reading, just kind of to see what messages are out there for you. And we'll start first by looking at the big idea for the reading. So, that'll be the first thing we look at, and we'll use this deck. We're going to start with the Radiant Tarot. So this is the Radiant Tarot that I'll use for the main, the first layer of energy, and then I'm going to clarify with the Chrysalis Tarot here in a little bit. So we'll start by, like I said, looking at that big idea for the reading. So this is the message that the reading is wrapped around. And this is a kind of, like I said, it's a general soulmate reading. It's not us asking a specific question. And what's going to be, this will be a little bit special today. So we have the Nine of Wands. Okay, so the Nine of Wands is, it's got the sense of this battle that hasn't ended, that maybe it could stand to end. There's a sense of standing here too long. This has been coming out in some of the pick-a-piles lately. It's a concept that's been coming out. Like this wall back here is turning into an excuse. It's like a rickety old wall that you have to guard, that is keeping you from being able to move on to new things. But it feels like to you that that wall is helping to hold you up. In reality, though, it's doing no such thing. It's not giving you any value. It's just that you may not realize that, and out of almost a habit, you're continuing to guard this wall. So this could be true between both you and your person, but it's the main idea. It's what the reading is wrapped around. So we'll clarify here in a couple minutes to kind of see what that is. But first, let's get the energetic backdrop for you. And what I was going to tell you is that this reading is a little bit special. So instead of having a separate reading for the extended, like a separate extended video, I'll just do both readings right here on YouTube as one big long reading. So after the regular reading, I'll do the extended. I'll just clear the cards and I'll do the extended right here as part of the same YouTube video. Usually it's a separate link that you would click on to go purchase through Vimeo, but for the thank you reading, giving you the free extended reading is part of me saying thank you. So, okay, looking at the energetic backdrop for the two of you in this situation. And so this is kind of a current energetic backdrop. And it's that overarching energy of the situation. So we've got that Three of Swords energy is just the energy of heartbreak. And it's a very energy using sort of situation. So there is a lot of energy that gets burned in dealing with the concept and the feelings around heartbreak. there's a lot of energy that gets burned in protecting a wall. Um, so that's one of the things that I may be feeling kind of already, is this sense of low energy and having used it in some different places. So let's check to see what sticks out the most about the situation between the two of you. Is what sticks out the most about the situation between the two of you. If that's a single card, yes. Okay, so neither of you is really in this to do a big struggle. You may both have at different times felt inspired to move toward one another and to overcome this desire to not have the big struggle. But there is a sense of fear that kind of pervades the whole situation. We feel that here with the Three of Swords. And we know that here with the Nine of Wands, because the guarding of this wall that really doesn't need to be guarded, and it's not a particularly strong wall to begin with. It uses a lot of energy, but there's just something about it that it's like wasted energy. As far as the Three of Swords, that's just kind of coping energy, and that energy that becomes less efficient because there is so much sorrow and pain. And so there's a sense of sorrow and pain being in the situation just in general. And of course, both of you not wanting to struggle, not wanting to confront is one of the things that's sticking out the most about this situation. So, what I'd like to look for here is what is another energy that is important in this situation? And it's not, I don't want to ask what's crossing you. I want to know what is an important energy that is exerting an impact on your situation. So, could be very positive, could be very negative, could be what's crossing you. I just want to make sure it's a little bit broader of a question. Okay, so we have the Four of Cups. And if I think back, here recently in one of the pick a card readings, it might have been the last pick a card reading that I did. We had the Four of Cups come out twice. And what the reason I bring that up is because it felt a lot like this feels. There was this sense of not being disappointed, like almost expecting disappointment. So the expectation piece is not usually what I get out of the Four of Cups, but the disappointment is. Okay, this is disappointment, it's boredom, it's just kind of not really being on board with things. But here you have, I'm impressed, I want to be engaged to this, or engaged with this. I want to engage with this. I am um, anything but disappointed and bored, and what I felt in that reading, I think it was now the third pile maybe of the last pick a pile reading. That one was like, it sort of surprised them how amazed they were by you, and that might have been a little bit mutual. I get that exact same feeling here. It was a surprise to them how much they maybe weren't expecting disappointment, but they weren't expecting to be impressed the way that they ultimately ended up being. So that's kind of what I get from that Four of Cups in the reverse. That's interesting because this is a person that is doing everything they can to kind of stay out of a situation where there's a lot of struggle. There's already an air of heartbreak in the just kind of in the energetic background, and there's this sense of guarding walls. That's just a guardedness sort of feeling. There's a feeling that this is, and this could be both of you, a lot of guarding going on there. So maybe moving into more of the hidden energies, what I want to see here is what is hidden from you in the place that you're currently standing. Like, what is, if you were to see this from a different perspective, maybe you would be able to determine this, but what is it that seems to be hidden from you from your current perspective? And we have a couple of cards that wanted to come out. So we have the Nine of Cups and we have the Five of Swords. And so there is, okay, so let me break this down. These cards work together to make one meaning, but I got to break them down first in order for the meaning to make sense. So the Nine of Cups is about wish fulfillment. But in this case, it is about understanding what your wish fulfillment would truly be. Like, what is it that would make you truly happy and you'd consider it fulfillment of your wishes? Is it a certain amount of financial stability, and then you have to press on that and say, is it really? Is it the companionship? Is it a combination of these things? Is it not having to worry? Is it, what is it exactly that is your wish fulfillment? And then this Five of Swords is, it's a it's an interesting sort of Five of Swords, because sometimes it's inefficient energy, sometimes it's that sort of battle where you get snippy and take wins where later you realize they weren't really wins at all. But here I get this sense of self sabotage more than anything else. So there's this feeling like at the same time, you've got to figure out what it is that is truly your wish fulfillment, while simultaneously making sure that any tendency to self sabotage or work against yourself is out of the picture. Because there's this feeling of you almost don't want to uncover this piece with the Nine of Cups, because it's a lack of self trust. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to say that these cards say together is that lack of self trust, but I didn't feel like that was going to make a ton of sense unless I explained that it had to do with exposing that true desire of yours and making sure that you're not going to cut it down when you are able to expose it. It's kind of a strange little feeling. It's not unique to you. Your person is suffering from it as well, and so are tons and tons of other people, which is part of why it could possibly come through this strongly in a collective reading. But it's about self trust. It's about a lack of self trust that you or your person may not even realize that you have. So that's just something to think about. And self trust, if you notice, if you've been here for a little while, is a concept that has been coming up over and over in these readings. We keep getting like the Seven of Swords in reverse when we want to see, when it wants to tell me that there is somebody who's building self trust, or the Seven of Swords in the upright, which can mean a lot of things. But what it keeps meaning very strongly in any case is lack of self trust. But what I see here is a specific type of lack of self trust. It's because you're afraid you're going to sabotage it when you figure out what it is. So that's something to be watching for. And now, though, I want to look at what is most likely to happen in your situation based on the energy that's out there. And so this is, of course, that energy to which you're going to be adding your free will. So what happens next is going to be a combination between kind of that underlying energy and the free will that you add to it. So let's take a look at that underlying energy that you're moving toward, that you and your person are moving toward. So that is more than one card. If it's just one card, I'll take it. I'll turn it over. But if it's more than one, I typically, almost always, will just put it back in the deck. I'm usually just looking for a single card here, but as you can see, sometimes I feel like I need to take more than one. So we have the Chariot. So that is the energy of movement that comes from within. This is a really beautiful energy because it has you not just moving forward, but being the impetus for that. So you'll see like the Wheel of Fortune card comes out sometimes. And so the Chariot and the Wheel of Fortune are both part of the major arcana of the tarot. And they both have to do with moving forward. But that Wheel of Fortune is like the universe moving you forward. But the Chariot is you moving you forward. So that's the energy that you're moving into. So that's actually, I think, kind of promising. Let's go ahead and clarify. I'll move this a little bit farther over. We'll go ahead and clarify starting with the Nine of Wands. And this is the Chrysalis Tarot, relatively new to the collection. I'm just getting much more acquainted with it. So we have the Page of Spirals. In this deck, spirals are fire energy, and the mime is about, it's interesting. Okay, so the mime is about not communicating, but not directly, and using something other than direct communication to get ideas across. So it's kind of oddly specific, but it's also something that needs to be paired with the concept of guarding these walls. Okay, so Then you have Herne the Hunter, which is actually the Chariot in reverse. So this energy that the message that this reading is wrapped around has a lot to do with not moving forward and having kind of the wheels stuck in the mud sort of feeling, you know. And it's around not being able to make the changes that need to be made here. There is definitely this sense that this wall maybe doesn't need to be guarded anymore. This is more of a habit. But there's an unwillingness or a lack of a tendency to want to move forward away from that. And here you have an unwillingness to communicate directly on some things. And so that's part of what's happening kind of with your situation with your person is being impacted by this energy, by this tendency to guard walls that just out of habit maybe don't need to be guarded anymore. The wagon wheels stuck in the mud sort of feeling that I get from this Chariot in reverse, as well as this person who's not communicating directly. So the Page of Spirals is also, a very curious page, but unfortunately, the thing that sticks out most about this card today is the fact that the communication isn't very strong, which is tough when you're looking at a situation where the energetic backdrop is the Three of Swords. So there's that feeling of heartbreak and that feeling of not being quite sure what to do, how to get there. So let's get some clarifiers for that Three of Swords and understand a little bit more what's happening there. Because I get that it's the energetic backdrop. Yeah, okay. So the Lover's card is coming out and the Queen of Stones. This person, and you probably already know this from previous readings and from your own experiences, has recognized they have a really strong bond with you, but they have a choice to make. They have a choice to make, but it's a very difficult one. And it is one that has them being torn between the most amazing thing they've ever dealt with and the calm that they have in their current life. So basically, there's a lot that would be being upset if they were to move more strongly in your direction than they did. And that is why there's this sense of the Three of Swords or this heartbreak sort of feeling that's in the background. And just realizing that there's a choice there they have that they can make or that they could have made that would drive this in the direction that it needs to go. This is starting to sound really familiar. So if this is resonating with you, there are some readings in the history here that you may want to go back and take a look at. Particularly take a look at the Soulmate series, because those are the ones that when this energy comes through or anything resembling it, because it's a collective, and even though it's not the hugest collective there ever was, there are hundreds of people here, and so there are hundreds of stories, and so the things that come through, I see these patterns, but I don't always see the patterns come through quite as strongly as they are right now. So I'm just saying this reading feels a little bit connected, more connected than usual to some of the other readings that have been out here lately. So yeah, there's this backdrop of painful feeling, recognition that there is a decision that has to be made, a choice that has to be made. Seems obvious, but isn't. Let's take a look then at this Five of Wands. I think we have our cards. We have the Celtic Owl, and that's going to be the Hanged Man, but it's in reverse because there's not a new perspective gained just yet. And then we have the Five of Stones. However, some healing has occurred. So I have said this before, but this is the feeling of when and this is the thing that's sticking out the most in your situation. When you're healing, you don't always heal in the most convenient order of things. So when you're healing around a concept like self-worth, for example, which in a lot of cases, this is going to hit the nail on the head for the people who are watching this video rather than the person who also has a self-worth question. But I think this is more true of you. There is a sense here that you have found a lot of that self-worth. You have come back to yourself, let yourself into the warmth. There is a lot of self-trust. I mentioned that a lot of times on this channel, and particularly when I was talking here about the hidden energy, there's a lot of self-trust that has been found. We have one of the patterns that I've seen here is we have a lot of people who are experiencing that runner chaser dynamic, but the chaser isn't chasing, and it has everything to do with this five of stones in reverse. So it's a challenging situation, but the thing that's sticking out is that you're not necessarily learning things in that most convenient order. So there's still this feeling that there's more information to come out. That's really what this hanged man is. It's the new perspective, not yet granted, not yet gained, but it's also kind of not yet earned. So there's something that you guys are both in the process of that's going to be giving you more of that new perspective that's going to help you learn the rest of these lessons and neaten up some of these edges. But right now we've got a sense of there's a lot of fear here, especially as it relates to wanting to stay away from the struggle. We see that, and that's one of the things that the two of you may have in common. But it is particularly challenging here because both of you have sort of grown beyond it, but you haven't got all the messages yet that you need to allow you to function at that level. And so here, it's really not being helped by the fact that the backdrop of this was that heartbreak and the realization of the choice that needed to be made and the realization that it just wasn't an easy choice. You've got your wheels stuck in the mud here. And when you have, it doesn't matter how obvious the choice is, if you're clouded or stuck, it's not necessarily going to be easy to move forward. Plus, the most critical message that wanted to come through here as we were looking at the main idea of the reading was that there are these walls that need to come down that maybe don't need to be guarded anymore. That's really kind of the sense that I'm getting from that Nine of Wands. So let's take a look then at this Four of Cups in reverse, and it's that one that that I saw in the previous reading, pile 3. I'm pretty sure that's what it was now. Pile 3 of the previous pick-a-pile reading had the Four of Cups come out twice, and it felt exactly like this. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm impressed by you, completely impressed by you, but I wasn't expecting it, you know. So let's see what comes out with this, because this should be nice to understand a little bit more. And this was something that, you know, just another factor in the situation. It's not necessarily the thing that sticks out the most, which is what this is over here. It's not necessarily what the reading is wrapped around, but it is an important message that you also need to receive. So far we have had the Page of Scrolls and the Three of Mirrors come out. So the Page of Scrolls is air energy. And the Pilgrim is it's an adventuresome trying to, I guess adventurous is the right word. Anyway, it's the adventurous page who we have a tendency to jump in and do things, and but not necessarily have it be well thought through strategy with this particular energy. That is part of what has happened with this. I'm super impressed and I wasn't expecting it. It's like it caused your person to throw caution to the wind. And this is a person that has a lot of caution to throw to the wind, you know, and maybe so do you. It's not necessarily lessons that you are dragging around. It's things that maybe you haven't learned completely. That sense of the lesson not completely learned, but most of it is. So you're so self-aware that you can kind of pick up on those edges and where they need to be cleaned up a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of that, but that all gets thrown to the wind here. But not the self-awareness piece. They're aware they are throwing caution to the wind and jumping in because they're so impressed. But here we have the Three of Mirrors, and that we have a third energy that is working against you here. And so mirrors are cups, water energy. In the traditional tarot, you'd get cups. So Three of Mirrors is the flow of energy, and there because of the three, sometimes you get that sense of a third energy as well. And I'm getting it here because it's in the reverse. It is immediately part of this picture, but not in a very positive way. There is a third energy that I think for some of you, it is that you work in the same place and there's some discomfort around that. There are going to also definitely be some folks where there is a person, a third person. There is another person in the picture that does not want the two of you to be together. And I get the sense in the place where there's, whether it's a person or a job, they let down their guard too far when they were discovering you and said too much. And it has made this job or workplace or person that they're with very wary of anything that has to do with you. And all of a sudden, it's like they're on notice. That's kind of what I get out of this. So that's an interesting dynamic and not one that came out in previous readings so much, but it's very strong here. They were so amazed by you that they forgot for a little while to be guarded. They were able to navigate a little bit more smoothly for a moment in this feeling of heartbreak. But again, their healing wasn't coming in at the most convenient times either. And so there were some things that maybe you're working more on the self-worth side, but they're working more on the I get ability to be vulnerable side, and they've got some pieces that they have not worked through all the way here either. You made them feel incredibly vulnerable. They totally fell for it. They said things to other people that other people were able to interpret as their extreme interest. And things didn't end up necessarily being well received in some cases I'm seeing. So I want to move now to this 9 of Cups and this 5 of Swords because remember, this was that lack of self-trust, but it was a hidden energy, and it was about this 9 of Cups. You really have to truly define what it is that you want in order to be able to work with the universe to co-manifest it. But there is this sense that you're afraid you're going to self sabotage it in some kind of way. This is also a feeling that could be coming from your person. So, different people will have differing levels of this, but I don't get the sense that it's coming from just one. Just like up here, I think both of you were being impacted by this energetic backdrop feeling. Probably there's some pain in the background that hasn't been healed from. I don't know if we'll see, that 4 of Swords or 6 of Swords in reverse sort of energy start to come out. But I'm feeling it here. And you guys were able to move past that because of that incredible bond that you had. But in the background, you're still guarding these walls. So let's take a look here. There is definite possibility for kind of a self-sabotaging, cutting it off at the knees sort of behavior. But let's clarify this because there's a lot of self-awareness around it. So the fact that it's like you're afraid to bring out what you know in yourself, because you're afraid you'll cut it off. I almost feel like we're definitely going to have to go into the extended on this one, which that's awesome. That's actually what makes this a little bit special because instead of having that separate extended video, because it's the thank you reading, I'm just going to do both readings here on YouTube. So it's one big long reading. So after the regular reading, I'll just clear out the cards and do the extended video for you. So we're going to, I'm pretty sure this is going to be, depending on what comes out to clarify, this will probably be one of the things we dig deeper into in the extended. But I'm super curious just to get to that next layer of energy here and clarify. So I love that it brought out 2 cards that for me amounted to another card, but wouldn't necessarily always be the case. It's really just the way they came out feeling in this context. So we've got the Poet. It's the King of Scrolls in reverse. So you've got a situation where you or your person or some combination of you, because again, remember, this is going to be different people to differing amounts. The King of Scrolls has the ability to look at a situation, the big picture of a situation, and to understand a good strategy, what to do next, how to think about it, takes the whole thing into consideration. When you have it in the reverse like that, you see a little bit less of that logic playing into it. And what I really feel here, though, particularly, is more of a sense of I refuse to look at the big picture. Looking at the big picture would be required in order to figure out what it is that you truly want, and what would constitute that wish fulfillment. But with this fear here that you might take it all down, which is based on a fear of a painful ending and remembering a painful ending. I just want to say this sounds like the fear of a painful ending just when I first pull the card out. But what I realize is it's like a whipped dog that is afraid it's going to get it again. That's the sense that I get here. And that's what's driving this self sabotage, whether it's you or them. The reason that there is this feeling of self sabotage is because of trying to avoid this painful, difficult situation that they've felt in the past. And there, so it's difficult to even say, here's what I want. This is what wish fulfillment would look like. And there's this tendency then to not look at the big picture, like we see here, this tendency then to not look at the big picture and to obscure it can even from ourselves just because of that fear that it's all just going to get destroyed anyway, because that's the sort of thing that has happened in the past. So that's deep. But that is a really important message to come out because it makes a whole lot of sense. And like I said, I think we will explore that a little bit more when we get into the extended here. One of the things that, well, we'll clarify this one. Let's see what's happening with this. Because remember, this is the energy that you're heading toward. In the energy that you were in before, it was, hey, there's this backdrop of heartache. This is maybe the sky has really changed color since this time. Okay, that's the sense that I get, and I even see it here. You know, if you look at the background of this card versus the background of this card, they are pretty different as far as what they represent and what they evoke in us. And that's one of the ways that, you know, if you're reading cards, sometimes just looking at the patterns on the cards, the emotions that they invoke with the backgrounds on the cards will help to allow those messages to come through in more of a fullness. So this energy that you're moving toward, what it's most likely to happen based on this energy, this is going to be what you have to add your free will to, which to a certain degree, so was this energetic backdrop. You guys were adding your energy to an energetic backdrop that was already kind of, I guess, primed for sorrow. And so having this realization that this amazing option exists here, oh, but you can't have it for some reason. And I'm more convinced now that it has to do with this third energy that was kind of getting in the way. And they're almost feeling like they wish they hadn't said certain things. But honestly, the desire to not struggle because they don't have this all worked out is pretty strong. So what I see though in the future though is moving forward. So that's that Chariot card, just like this is the Chariot card where we see I was feeling that the wheels were stuck in the mud. This is not that feeling. This is moving forward. Actually, you know, the sun has come out, it's shining, moving forward. This is a very different type of energy than what we see here with the Three of Swords. So it's that moving forward, good sort of energy, but there's tendency to want to control it in a way that is probably not helpful. And then we also have the Page of Stones in reverse. So this is, you would be a lot more flexible and able to handle the situation if you were able to relinquish the desire to control it so much. And this is going to be true for both of you, but I'm just going to tell you because you're the one listening. The more you can relinquish a need to control it, the more you're going to have the freedom to move. But there will be some lessons here. So the Page of Stones is about learning. And so it's a card of learning, but it's also the card of someone who does learn. And so here we have it in the reverse because there's learning that needs to be gathered. But right now, there's not as much of an opportunity to do that. The flexibility to be granted that learning can only be gained if that control is relinquished. This is the green man. It's like the emperor in reverse, and it's saying, you're trying to control too much. You got to take your hands off of it a little bit, and that's going to free you up to be able to move, which is quite significant. So I think as we go into the extended, and like I said, I'm just going to clear the cards and do the extended right here. But here's what we're going to ask. We're going to ask what it is that we need to know about this future energy for you, because we know that there's this sense of control kind of holding you back, but we also know that there is a tendency to move forward. So that is really promising. And just kind of what more do you need to know about that? I think that's going to be one of the questions that we ask. Then we're also going to look a little bit more into this. Like I was saying, you've got this difficult feeling. This is going to be the bridge question. We've got this difficult feeling where they've had a difficult ending, or maybe you've had a difficult ending. One of you, both of you, could be both, have had some difficult ending, painful thing that happened, that you're being self-sabotagey about things because you don't want to feel this pain again, okay? And it's leading to an inability to say, here's what I truly want, and a tendency to keep it inside. So we need to understand what's going to get you across the bridge. I think this might be the most important part of the reading for both of you, to be able to get to a place where you can talk about what it is that you want and be able to even share that within yourself. So that you can go forward in a wholehearted fashion, because otherwise you may be inviting some cycles that are not super helpful. Like I said, we'll also take a look at this energy that's moving your way. So it's really awesome, but it also has this tendency to control, might be more difficult for you to deal with. And then we also have I'm looking up here and I'm seeing kind of how they feel about you, but I'm not getting enough information for my tastes. And so I think the first thing we will actually look at is how they're feeling about you. So this is the part that you guys don't usually see. So if you've never seen one of these, well, nobody ever sees this part because this is while the camera's off. But if you've never seen one of those extended readings that I put out, then you're in for a treat, because what happens is when I put the first deck out, that's going to be that first layer of energy that comes out that just kind of tells us, here's the big deal. Here's which way the wind blows, you know. And then we get in a little bit deeper on the energy, and we determine that next level. And so that is when I go to clarify, we see that we've got, okay, this one's ready. We see that we've got information that takes us to that next kind of level. But then when we go in and actually do the extended reading, we don't ask quite as many questions, but we do explore them a little bit more deeply. So that's what you're about to see here. Instead of having to click through to the Vimeo, I'm just trying to shuffle, but I'm turning a bunch of cards over to just watch what you see, watch what comes out. It'll be interesting. But usually I put these out on Vimeo, and you have the choice to go click on it and watch the extended. It sends you to my Vimeo page. So here, though, I think this one's almost ready. We'll start with the question about how they're feeling about you. I just like to have the decks sufficiently shuffled when we go in. I feel like we're good now. So now I'm going to shuffle for a couple of cards to come up on how they are feeling about you. And so we have a couple that came through. We've got the Page of Wands in reverse, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles, the door that won't open because it's in reverse. So the Page of Wands in reverse feels kind of similar to the one that we saw in the earlier reading when it came out of this deck. That Page of Wands is like typically a curious page, but that curiosity's been stripped away here. There's also this sense of a door that won't open. So when there's just such a longing that happened in them, that they, in a lot of cases, they have compartmentalized this and are no longer allowing themselves to feel the level of longing that they once were. So keep that in mind. And we're just going to go ahead and jump in and clarify these now. Um, but yeah, that's something to think about. We saw how strong the bond was with you and how strongly they wanted to move towards you. But we also see that they feel so strongly about not being able to move towards you and not being able to allow this door to open, that's kind of what they're causing themselves to think about. Oh, but they know this is hitting them on a very deep level. The way that they work together with you, the way your souls work together is like music to them. Those words came out specifically like as they were supposed to. Sometimes you're getting my words, sometimes you're getting words coming through me. That was an example of words that are coming through me. So you guys work together like music. The Three of Spirals is really all about working together and being very harmonious in pulling something together. And then there's this divine child, which is that what's coming through for me on this card. The Hierophant can mean a lot of different things because what this is in this deck. But it can mean a lot of different things. But what I'm getting is that there's a transformative energy here that comes from their interaction with you. So even if they don't see you again, basically ever, they've already been kicked into this transformation. It's a spiritual transformation that, despite the fact that they have kind of felt like they needed to go crawl in a hole over it a little bit, they recognize that the two of you work together like music, as it says here, and that you are the source of so much spiritual learning and just amazement on their part. It's something that they won't soon forget. So now let's look at this Ace of Pentacles. See what wants to come out to talk about the Ace of Pentacles and to clarify for that one. So yeah, if you've never seen an extended before, now you have the opportunity to see one. These thank you videos, that's the way that I decided to structure them, because usually the Vimeo one costs money. And I thought, well, this is something that I would be able to offer you as a thank you. Plus, it's another insight into your soulmate situation, and it's one that a lot of times people are happy to get on a relatively regular basis. So let's take a look here. We've got the Ace of Pentacles, which represents that door not opening. And this is something that they just feel so strongly when the two of you are interacting, that there is this door that is just bolted shut. It's like welded shut. They can't get around it. And I get the sense it's that third energy. It has something to do with that third energy that we saw on YouTube. We also have the poet, the King of Scrolls. And so this is that feeling that I was talking about where they kind of squeeze their eyes half shut. So they're not really able to see the big picture, because the King of Scrolls in the upright has the ability, he's very logical. He has the ability to see the big picture and to devise a strategy as a result of what he is seeing. But what we're feeling here, what I'm feeling here is that there's a tendency to cinch up and kind of not want to even approach the situation because everything hurts so much and has so much promise of pain. And yet you've got the King of Spirals here. So this is it's the companion card. The King of Spirals is that it's that fire energy. It's very driving forward sort of energy. So this is that piece of them that can't stop. There's something in the background that recognizes, even though there's compartmentalization going on, in a lot of cases here, they're trying not to think about it. They're trying not to overthink about it, you know. But there's this sense here that even in the background, they still know this transformation is significant and real. The way the two of you work together is not to be ignored and not to be minimized. And this feeling that they just want to come towards you and just, it's a very driving forward, like I was saying, sort of feeling. So you've got this door that won't open, and then you've basically got this like battering ram energy. But then there's this in the foreground, this energy of no, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Let the passion be, wind down, and they can't completely let it go. So they are working very hard on compartmentalizing and letting it go, but it's not really working for them. And that's one of the things that they discover when they kind of test back out and see if there's something in that energy they want to check into. Doesn't always work out. Um, let's see then what is going to happen. We were looking at the energy that was coming towards you, and we wanted to get a little bit more information because it seemed like we saw originally the wheels, we saw the chariot in the reverse, like the wheels weren't turning. But then we saw in that future energy that you're moving toward, that you're going to have the opportunity to put your free will into, those wheels were turning. That was very much the feeling of moving forward, but it's not that simple. There's definitely more to it. There's a lot of overcoming difficulty, and that, oh boy, but there's partnership. Um, and there's, wow, partnership. Okay, so you guys, this is the energy that you're moving toward, and it's stability and partnership. This is every time that I've ever done a reading for somebody and had these, like a personal reading where they weren't watching the cards come out, I would feel guilty if I saw cards like this come out because they seem almost too good to be true. The Two of Cups is about that sort of partnership that just is very, it's beneficial to both parties. It's a wonderful energy flows back and forth sort of partnership. And the Four of Wands is like the marriage card. It is the stability. It is a happy new beginning. It is a really fantastic sort of feeling. Let's get in and clarify this. So this is about the energy that you're moving toward. We see that things are changing and like that the wheels are turning now, but this is amazing energy that you are moving towards. So remember, you're still going to have to prepare for this. And we'll look for that in the bridge question. What's going to get you past that hidden energy that we saw of the lack of self-trust. And because this is kind of that energy that you're moving toward, or the potential you have to move toward this is very high. And so let's see in the next question what it's going to take to get you there. But for now, just looking for a couple of clarifiers on the Four of Wands. Okay, let's see. So again, the Four of Wands is stability. It's like you got the Two of Wands where you're making a decision, you're making a movement, you're going across an emotional expanse. The Three of Wands where you've set things into motion and you're waiting for your ships to come in. I don't think I've ever said that, but it kind of makes a lot of sense when you look at the cards the way they're drawn a lot of times. Then you have the Four of Wands where there's a lot of stability there. That's kind of the hallmark of it. So, all right, we've got two cards that wanted to come out for that. A lot of times it's just the one, but I felt like the two needed to come out there. So, okay, let's check it out. We've got the Tower and we've got the Eight of Spirals. So the Tower, and I'm just going to start here. The Tower is the emotional, it's usually emotional, tumultuous experience. It's ideas changing. You see the lightning is hitting the crown a lot of times of the Tower. And it's like new enlightenment, but it's not always a super comfortable place to be. And when you combine that with the Eight of Spirals in reverse, which is energy that is not moving very quickly, it can be very uncomfortable. And so we've seen in a lot of our previous readings that there is this sense of you learning how to be comfortable in a less comfortable sort of situation. So here we have like this really amazing energy that you guys move into, and yet it's not all fun and games. There's still this situation here where there's tumultuous learning that's happening. There are situations where it feels stagnant because it feels like the energy isn't moving you forward, which, by the way, that's not necessarily stagnant. Sometimes it's just a matter of you've got to sit there and soak in it for a little while to truly get the full lesson, but it is in no way comfortable when that happens. And so your ability to do that will become more stout. However, doing that in a partnership and in a marriage or a stable situation can be a little bit challenging. You kind of need that person's support. And so, because the other thing that we're seeing here is that this is a burden. Um, this experience that's happening here is difficult. And so having some help to kind of be able to lay down that burden, because with it in reverse here, you've got that burden being laid down, but a lot of times it's like screeching to a halt and like falling and dropping all of these spirals. Like if he were to, he's standing here at a crossroads, he's making a decision, but this is like he's super loaded down. And you kind of crash and burn when that's in reverse like that. So you need um, something there, that stability there will, it's not just a relationship type of energy, it's also that stability of self sort of energy. It tells me that definitely it's going to be that when we talk about what's going to get you across that bridge, this is what's on the other side of that bridge. So it is stability of self. It's the capacity to have a wonderful, stable relationship and a wonderful, stable partnership, even if that's not necessarily what you choose to do, or this is not the soulmate with whom you choose to do it. But let's take a look at this Two of Cups. And see what's happening there. And the reason I said that is because I keep getting these notes from people that say, hey, I don't want that old soulmate back. And I realize, there are a lot of folks who don't want that old soulmate back. And so a lot of times what we're doing is we're just trying to work to get past the things that that soulmate had the grace to show us, because a lot of times you're getting triggered into learning these lessons. These soulmates are leaving this with you, and it's easy to blame them for it, but it's also easy to be thankful that you had the opportunity to learn the lesson. So let's see here. We're wanting to look at clarifiers for the Two of Cups. We have the Page of Stones that has already come out, and now, whoa. Those both came out in the reading that we just did here, the one that we're doing the deep dive for, or the that's kind of what this is. We're doing the extended for. So we've got the Two of Cups, which is all about that partnership. We have, though, here are a bunch of lessons that I haven't yet learned, and we kind of have that feeling coming out throughout. But it's not necessarily a showstopper. Just like I'm learning a lot of things here, I've got this stagnant energy. I'm kind of burning out, but it's not necessarily a showstopper if you've got that stability there. You just kind of sit down on your tightrope and things work out a little bit better for you for a little while. As far as the partnership is concerned, though, knowing that you've got some things that you haven't learned, knowing that there's a tendency to control, which, as we saw before, was going to be an issue. It's a matter of learning how to not necessarily get rid of those things, but to manage them, because these are things that you're going to continue to run across. And so the good news is that's the energy that you're moving into. It's this very stable energy and this sense of being able to have a good partnership. But you'll have to, the warning that you're getting is there are going to be some things that you'll have to manage here. You'll have to work with yourself. You'll have to work with your person. You'll have to just kind of work through those things, but you have the capacity to do it. Okay, so let's take a look then at that bridge question. And remember, the bridge question is usually what is going to get you from whatever energy you're at now to the energy where you want to be. And that energy where you want to be is usually pretty specific to the person. In this case, though, it's going to be what is that energy that gets you kind of to that next place, and gets you past that tendency to have a lack of self-trust. It gets you to this place, and that's kind of, as soon as I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's what's on the other side of the bridge. So what has to happen in order for you to get there? Okay, I see immediately the Temperance card comes out in the reverse. So we've got balance, we've got that difficult lesson, and I was reminded of it earlier. Oh, and there's the Three of Wands with a literal boat that is waiting to come in. But I talked about it earlier with regard to the Temperance card. So what I mean by that is you've been getting these readings here lately. If you go back and you watch some of the previous ones, you've been getting these readings where there's a lot of lessons for you about becoming comfortable in discomfort or in uncomfortable situations. And that is really the chief message that comes out here as I look at what's going to happen in order for you to get across that bridge from the energy where you currently are today to this incredibly stable and partnership oriented one that you have over here. And I want to say partnership oriented, but it doesn't have to be. It's just the ability to form the partnership and to have great energy toward doing so. It doesn't necessarily mean, and now that I have this, I'm going to have a partnership. It could be, and now that I have this, I'm just capable of having a good, successful partnership. Here we have the energy of something having been set into motion, and it's that feeling of always having that momentum that kind of wants to come out with that card. So I want to take a look a little bit closer here at the Temperance card because, I'm not surprised that that lesson came out because we've had so many patterns that have emerged doing these readings, and one of them, being the lessons that you're learning. And there's so much around learning to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. So here we have that Three of Mirrors, that here it is again. And it's that uncomfortable situation, but it's also that sense of having the third energy in the mix. So there's something here that you have to get okay with, and it may or may not be something that is changing. The Nine of Spirals is the equivalent of the Nine of Wands. So this is that energy. The Nine of Wands has been coming out a lot in these readings as, and you saw it before, that wall that kind of doesn't really need guarding and you're doing it out of habit. This is about no longer feeling a need or a desire to guard those walls. So that is actually not surprising that it would be attached to this, but it's kind of a big deal. So this is that sense of getting comfort with discomfort or uncomfortable situations. This is no longer holding up unnecessary walls. And this is making some sort of peace with the third energy that is impacting your situation with your person right now. That can look a whole lot of ways. It really has a lot to do with what ends up happening, and it's your personal situation, but it's finding peace with that. So let's look at this Three of Wands now and get a feel for that. So what have we got? We've got the Ace of Mirrors, which you want to talk about a happy new beginning, happy new start. So this, the Four of Wands, is kind of a happy new beginning energy, but the Ace of Mirrors, it's that water energy. So it has the emotion just really flowing. So it's like the new flow of emotion. This is why when Ace of Cups comes out or Ace of Water energy comes out, a lot of times it's that new love, sort of feeling. And that's really what this is. But it's, again, there's a conscientious nature of it. And then we have the Three of Scrolls. There it is. It's that other shoe dropping, or not really. I shouldn't say it that way. It's not the other shoe dropping. It's really more an awareness, a broader awareness that you now have when you set things into motion, when you kind of keep that momentum going. You've got more of an awareness of your range. So this is that represents that amazing feeling of new love and coming into something that is new. And the Three of Scrolls is that energy that really represented the energetic backdrop in the reading that we did just before. It's the equivalent of the Three of Swords because it's that air energy. And so it's recognizing and being able to balance and keep a momentum and keep things moving forward, even though there's such an extreme or potential for extremes here, such a range between the happy new love is moving forward sort of beginning, as well as that bitter, difficult feeling of heartbreak and everything in between. I see you learning to really welcome that, and kind of like what you've done up here, finding comfort in a much wider range of experiences. I think that's really what happens as you cross this bridge. And it makes sense too, because when you get to the other side of it, you find yourselves in this very stable situation, but you're ready for strong partnership. You're able to manage difficult things that would come through for you, able to say, but we're still going to grow. We're still going to have difficult things that happen, harsh winds that blow. We're going to be here for each other. But even so, the most important thing is you've got the stability to winter those storms or to weather those storms. But part of what is happening to allow that is that relationship that's happening between you and your person. And here, we're seeing kind of the blow up a little bit of how we're expanding on, I don't want to say blow up, we're expanding on how your person feels about you and how much they recognize just that amazing amount of how well you guys work together. They recognize the huge change that you've brought to them. Um, the drive to move toward you is really just unparalleled, despite the fact that they find themselves kind of squinting so they don't have to take in all the information because they're just frustrated. There's this sense of frustration here around this door that won't open. So I think before we finish up, this is where I would usually leave it if I was doing the Vimeo extended reading, because I think, it takes a little bit, like I said, it's fewer questions, but we get deeper in and we're able to see. But I want to grab this card, this deck here, and just kind of see if there's some advice that I can put across the top for you. So this is the Pure Magic Oracle, and the observant of you will notice that sometimes I always have an Oracle deck out, but sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. It has everything to do with whether it seems like it fits into the situation or whether we have all the answers we want. Not saying we don't, but I would love to get you a piece of advice that kind of goes across the top, because this is big. This part about what it takes to get you across this bridge, and even what you're getting across the bridge too. Like, it may be, maybe that's what that's going to resemble, your wish fulfillment to a certain degree, is a situation that looks like that. So we've got Belladonna Visions, talking about caution, guidance, clarity, and standing firm. So here's a card to kind of remind you that there are two sides to everything. So we talked a little bit earlier about that Nine of Wands and that the walls that don't need guarding, okay? Keep in mind that there are still going to be some sorts of situations where caution is warranted. I'm not saying stand there and guard an unnecessary wall under any circumstances, but be aware that there are situations where you are going to have to reach in and get some of that guidance. You are going to have to figure out kind of what that means. Get your guidance in your meditation or from your own hierophant sort of source. It's what is that spiritual guidance source that you trust implicitly, that you can go to, and don't make any decisions before you go to. That's kind of one of the messages that wants to come out there, because as you're working through this, it'll be important to have that person in your corner. And now maybe let's take a look at one more card for you, because I felt like more than one has wanted to come out all along, but I don't know it yet. Let's see here. One more card of advice to come out for you as you're navigating this situation. And as we are wrapping up this thank you reading for the month of November, and the amazing companionship and just amazingness that you guys have exhibited. I talk with some of you. Some of you PM me and request readings, all kinds of things like that. And so I get to know you a little bit as individuals. And of course, I can't get to know everybody. But we have enough connections that I'm able to really be amazed at what I see there. So let's take a look at this. We have Banyan Blessings. This is security, the Hermit, expansion, and stability. And it has everything to do with the messages about this bridge and what you're leading over to. So it's going to be that expansion that you experience as you're moving across the bridge. And it's going to be that stability that you're going to reach when you receive it. What we didn't quite cover, but this card does, is the security and the Hermit. So there is necessity for you to kind of back out of the situation for a little while and just meditate, just look into yourself to determine some of what this path is going to look like, and some of what this, how this actually could play out. Because one of your assignments is going to be to lay bare your desires and what would actually be the thing that you want. What is really that wish fulfillment? And then allow your whole self to see it and trust that you're not just going to tear it down, because every time you do something that would move in the direction of tearing it down, your expansion and your honest stability is going to be able to help you deconstruct that and say, hold on, this is not the direction that we want to go. Let me think about this a little bit more. almost like you slow down time a little bit, like when you're in an accident and things are going really fast, and you slow down time. It seems like things move very slowly for that instant. You can do that yourself. Meditation is the way that I get to mine. It's very useful in tough situations, intense situations. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I'm wrapping up the thank you video. Thank you again for being here with me for this whole video. You got a homework assignment at the end, so I'm probably going to have to mention that. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you then in another reading.